I never thought I'd be posting here, but I guess life's full of surprises. I'm Mike 35M, and I've been married to Jennifer 33F for 7 years. We met in college, dated for 3 years, and tied the knot in a small ceremony surrounded by family and friends. Everything seemed perfect. We both had good jobs, bought a house in the suburbs, and were talking about starting a family. Last weekend was supposed to be our 7th anniversary celebration. I had planned a surprise party at our favorite restaurant, invited all our friends, and even flew in Yen's parents from out of state. I was so excited to show her how much I loved her and appreciated our life together. But man, was I in for a rude awakening? Looking back, I guess there were signs. Jen had been working late a lot, always with some excuse about a big project or a demanding client. She'd started going to the gym more often, buying new clothes, and spending hours on her phone. I chalked it up to her recent promotion and thought maybe she was just trying to look good for work. But then weird things started happening. She'd get calls at odd hours and step outside to take them. Once I heard her giggling and whispering, "Stop it, Jake!" before quickly hanging up when she saw me. When I asked who Jake was, she said it was a new coworker and brushed it off. I started noticing she'd get defensive if I asked about her day or tried to surprise her at work for lunch. She even changed her phone's password, which she'd never done before. Still, I didn't want to be that paranoid, controlling husband. I trusted Jen. We were solid, right? So the night of our anniversary party arrives. I'm nervous, but excited. Jen thinks we're just going out for a quiet dinner, but I can't wait to surprise her with all our friends and family. We get to the restaurant, and I lead her to the private room I've rented. As we walk in, everyone jumps out yelling, "Surprise!" Yen's face. I'll never forget it. Instead of joy or excitement, she looks panicked. Her eyes dart around the room, and she plasters on this fake smile that doesn't reach her eyes. I introduce her to everyone, thinking maybe she's just overwhelmed. But then I notice she keeps checking her phone, looking distracted. I overhear her mom ask, "Honey, are you okay? You seem off." Jen snaps at her, "I'm fine, Mom, just tired from work." As we're mingling, I see Jen pull our friend Sarah aside. They're whispering intensely, and Sarah looks shocked. I try to catch Yen's eye, but she's avoiding me. What the hell is going on? I'm about to go over and ask Jen what's wrong when the door opens. In walks this guy I've never seen before. Tall, muscular, with this smug grin on his face. The room goes quiet, and I hear someone gasp. Yen's face goes white as a sheet. She stumbles over her words. "Jake, what are you doing here?" Jake? The coworker she'd been giggling with on the phone? What the fuck is he doing at our anniversary party? Jake looks around the room, seeming to enjoy the tension. "Sorry I'm late, babe. Traffic was a bitch." He walks right up to Jen and kisses her on the cheek like it's the most natural thing in the world. I'm standing there, frozen, as I watch my wife push him away and hiss, "You need to leave, now." But Jake just laughs and says loud enough for everyone to hear, "Come on, Jen. No need to keep secrets anymore. I thought we were done playing games." The room erupts into confused murmurs. I feel like I'm in some kind of twisted nightmare. What the hell is happening? My mind is racing, trying to make sense of what's happening. I stride over to Jen and Jake, my fists clenched at my sides. "What the fuck is going on here?" I demand, my voice shaking with anger and confusion. Yen's eyes are darting between Jake and me, panic written all over her face. "Mike, I can explain," she starts, but Jake cuts her off. "Oh, this is Rich," Jake sneers. "You didn't tell him about us, did you, Jen? Some anniversary gift." I turn to Jen, desperately hoping for some kind of explanation that would make this all make sense. But the guilt in her eyes tells me everything I need to know. "How long?" I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. Jen starts crying, mascara running down her cheeks. "Mike, please, can we talk about this in private?" But I'm done with the secrets. "How long?" I repeat louder this time. Jake answers for her, his voice dripping with satisfaction. 6 months, buddy. Sorry you had to find out like this, but hey, at least you threw us a nice party." I feel like I've been punched in the gut. 6 months, half a year of lies, of betrayal. I look around the room, seeing the shock and pity on our friends' and family's faces. This was supposed to be a celebration of our love, and instead it's turned into a nightmare. The room erupts into chaos. Yen's mom is sobbing. Her dad looks like he wants to murder Jake, and our friends are whispering furiously amongst themselves. I feel like I'm watching everything unfold from outside my body. Suddenly, Sarah steps forward, her face a mix of guilt and determination. "Mike, there's something else you need to know," she says, her voice trembling. "Jens, she's pregnant." The room goes dead silent. I turn to Jen, disbelief etched on my face. "Is this true?" Jen nods, tears streaming down her face. I was going to tell you tonight after the party." Jake's smug expression falters for the first time. "Whoa, hold up. You're pregnant? Why didn't you tell me?" And just like that, the situation spirals even further out of control. Jen starts screaming at Jake, calling him a selfish asshole. Jake is yelling back, demanding to know if the baby is his. Our friends are trying to calm everyone down, while Yen's parents look like they're about to faint. I can't take it anymore. I storm out of the restaurant, ignoring the calls of my name behind me. I need air. I need to think. How did my life turn into this soap opera nightmare in the span of 10 minutes? As I stand outside, gulping in the cool night air, I realize this is just the beginning of a long, painful journey. I spend the night driving around aimlessly, my mind a whirlwind of emotions. Anger, betrayal, confusion, and heartbreak all battle for dominance. I ignore the constant buzzing of my phone. I can't deal with anyone right now. When I finally return home the next morning, exhausted and numb, I find Jen sitting on our porch steps. She looks like she hasn't slept either, her makeup smeared and her hair a mess. "Mike, please," she starts as soon as she sees me. "We need to talk." I brush past her and unlock the door. "There's nothing to talk about," I say coldly. But Jen follows me inside, desperate. "I know I fucked up. I'm so sorry, but you have to let me explain." I whirl around to face her. "Explain what, Jen? How you've been fucking your coworker for 6 months, how you lied to my face every single day, how you're pregnant and I don't even know if it's mine." She flinches at my words, but presses on. "It's not what you think. Jake, he blackmailed me. He threatened to ruin my career if I didn't sleep with him." I laugh bitterly. "And I'm supposed to believe that? After all the lies?" Yen's face crumples. "I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. He has connections in the industry, and he said he'd make sure I never worked again if I didn't do what he wanted. I was scared and stupid, and I didn't know how to tell you." I want to believe her, but how can I trust anything she says now? Just as I'm about to respond to Yen's explanation, there's a loud banging on our front door. We both freeze, startled by the sudden interruption. I cautiously open the door to find 2 police officers standing there, looking grim. "Are you Michael Thompson?" one of them asks. I nod, confused. "Yes, that's me. What's this about?" The officer's face remains stoic. "Sir, we need you to come with us. You're under arrest for assault and battery." My jaw drops. "What? There must be some mistake. I haven't assaulted anyone." The second officer steps forward, handcuffs at the ready. "We received a report from a Jacob Pearson. He claims you attacked him last night outside of Chez Louis restaurant." Jen gasps behind me. "Jake? But that's not true. Mike left before anything happened." As the officers start to read me my rights, my mind races. Jake must have set this up as some sort of twisted revenge. But why? What game is he playing? Jen is crying, pleading with the officers. "Please, this is all a misunderstanding. Mike is innocent." But they're not listening. As they lead me to the police car, I turn to Jen. "Call our lawyer and find out what the hell Jake is up to." As the car pulls away, I see Jen standing in the doorway, looking lost and scared. Despite everything, my heart aches for her. What have we gotten ourselves into? I'm sitting in a cold, sterile interrogation room at the police station. My mind is reeling from the events of the past 24 hours. First, my anniversary party turned into a nightmare, and now I'm being accused of a crime I didn't commit. Detective Sarah Johnson enters the room, a thick file in her hands. She sits across from me, her face unreadable. "Mr. Thompson, you're in quite a situation here," she says, opening the file. "Mr. Pearson claims you attacked him in the parking lot of Chez Louis last night. He has bruises and a witness to corroborate his story." I lean forward, my voice firm. "Detective, I swear to you, I never laid a hand on Jake. I left the restaurant as soon as I found out about the affair. This is all some kind of setup." She raises an eyebrow. "A setup? That's a serious accusation. Do you have any proof?" I sigh, frustrated. "No, but it doesn't make sense. Why would I attack him and then just go home? Why wouldn't anyone at the party have seen or heard anything? Just then, there's a knock at the door. Another officer pokes his head in. "Detective Johnson, there's someone here insisting on speaking with you. Says it's urgent and related to this case." The detective looks annoyed, but nods. "I'll be right back, Mr. Thompson. Don't go anywhere." She smirks slightly at her own joke as she leaves. I'm left alone, wondering who could be here and if they might be my saving grace or the final nail in my coffin. After what feels like an eternity, Detective Johnson returns, but she's not alone. To my shock, she's accompanied by Sarah, Yen's best friend from the party. Sarah looks nervous but determined as she sits down next to me. "Mike, I'm here to tell the truth," she says, her voice shaking slightly. Detective Johnson leans forward, intrigued. "And what truth is that, miss?" "Sarah Williams," she replies. "I was at the anniversary party last night and I saw everything that happened after Mike left." I feel a glimmer of hope as Sarah begins to recount the events. After Mike stormed out, Jake started gloating. He was drunk and bragging about how he'd ruined their marriage. Jen was crying, and suddenly Jake grabbed her arm roughly. That's when Yen's dad intervened. He punched Jake, knocking him to the ground. Jake hit his head on a table as he fell. Sarah takes a deep breath before continuing. Jake threatened to press charges against Yen's dad, but then he got this twisted idea. He said he'd frame Mike for the assault instead, to teach them all a lesson. He even convinced one of his friends who was outside to be a false witness. Detective Johnson's eyebrows shoot up. "That's a very serious allegation, Miss Williams. Are you willing to sign a sworn statement to this effect?" Sarah nods firmly. "Absolutely. I should have come forward immediately, but I was scared. Jake has a lot of influence in our industry, and he threatened to ruin all of our careers if anyone spoke up. But I can't let an innocent man take the fall for this." As I listen to Sarah's revelation, I'm overwhelmed with a mix of emotions. Relief at having my innocence proven, anger at Jake's manipulation, and a growing sense that this whole situation is far more complex than I initially thought. Detective Johnson listens intently to Sarah's account, her expression shifting from skepticism to concern. She turns to me, her tone now apologetic. "Mr. Thompson, in light of this new information, we'll need to investigate further before proceeding with any charges against you. You're free to go for now, but please don't leave town." As we're about to leave the interrogation room, there's a commotion in the hallway. Suddenly, Jake bursts in, his face red with anger. "You bitch!" he yells at Sarah. "You promised you wouldn't say anything!" Two officers quickly restrain Jake, who continues to shout threats and obscenities. Detective Johnson's eyes narrow. "Mr. Pearson, I suggest you calm down and exercise your right to remain silent. It seems we have a lot more to discuss." As Jake is led away, still fuming, I turn to Sarah. "Thank you," I say quietly. "But why did you really come forward? I thought you and Jen were best friends." Sarah's eyes fill with tears. "We are, but what Jake's been doing, it's not just about the affair. Mike, there's so much more you need to know. Yen's been trapped in something dangerous and she needs help." My head spins with this new revelation. What kind of mess has Jen gotten herself into? And more importantly, do I even want to know? Or should I just walk away from this whole situation? As we leave the police station, I realize that my decision now could change the course of not just my life, but potentially many others as well. Sarah and I find a quiet coffee shop near the police station. As we sit down with our drinks, she takes a deep breath, her hands shaking slightly. "Mike, what I'm about to tell you, it's going to sound crazy, but I swear it's true." I nod, bracing myself for whatever bombshell she's about to drop. Jake isn't just Yen's coworker. He's part of a larger operation. They've been using the company as a front for money laundering and drug trafficking. My jaw drops. "What? Are you serious?" Sarah nods grimly. Jen found out by accident about 3 months ago. She was going to report it, but Jake caught her. That's when the blackmail started. He threatened not just her career, but your life too. I feel like I've been punched in the gut. So the affair was part of Jake's way of controlling her, Sarah finishes. He made her believe that if she didn't comply, you'd be killed. The pregnancy. Yen's not sure if it's yours or Jake's. She was too afraid to refuse him. My mind reels with this information. Suddenly, Yen's behavior over the past few months starts to make a twisted kind of sense. Why didn't she come to me or go to the police? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. Sarah looks down. Jake showed her pictures of you going about your day, told her you were being watched. She was terrified. I only found out because I overheard them arguing at work. As I process this shocking revelation, my phone buzzes. It's a text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Meet me at the old factory on 5th. Come alone or Jen dies. Jay, I show Sarah the text, my heart racing. What do we do now? My hands are shaking as I stare at the text message. Sarah's face pales when she reads it. Mike, you can't go alone. It's too dangerous. We should call the police, she urges. I run my hands through my hair, frustration and fear battling inside me. But what if they're watching? What if they hurt Jen? Just then, my phone buzzes again. This time, it's a picture message. Jen tied to a chair, looking terrified. The caption reads, "Clock's ticking, 1 hour." Fuck! I slam my fist on the table, causing nearby patrons to jump. I have to go! I can't risk Yen's life! Sarah grabs my arm. Mike, think about this. It's probably a trap. Let me call Detective Johnson. She'll know how to handle this. I hesitate, torn between wanting to rush to Yen's aid and knowing that Sarah's right. This is way over our heads. Okay, I finally agree. Call Johnson, but tell her to be discreet. He'll head to the factory to buy us some time. If I'm not there in an hour, who knows what they'll do to Jen. Sarah looks like she wants to argue, but nods reluctantly. Be careful, Mike, and take this. She hands me a small canister. It's pepper spray. Not much, but it's better than nothing. As I stand to leave, Sarah grabs my hand. Mike, there's one more thing you should know. The baby. Jen told me she's almost certain it's yours. She was going to tell you at the anniversary dinner before everything went to hell. I feel a lump in my throat. Despite everything, a small part of me feels a glimmer of hope. But first, I need to make sure Jen is safe. I head out of the coffee shop, my heart pounding. I'm walking into what's likely a trap to save the wife who cheated on me, carrying a child that might be mine. How did my life become this complicated? I arrive at the old factory on 5th Street, my nerves on edge. The building looms before me, dark and foreboding. I check my watch. I have about 15 minutes left before the deadline. Taking a deep breath, I push open the rusty door and step inside. The interior is dimly lit, with shadows lurking in every corner. I can hear water dripping somewhere in the distance. Hello? I call out, my voice echoing in the empty space. I'm here! Where's Jen? Suddenly, I hear footsteps behind me. I whirl around to see Jake emerging from the shadows, a smug grin on his face. Well, well, the knight in shining armor arrives, he sneers. I'm impressed you had the balls to show up. I clench my fists, fighting the urge to punch him. Where's my wife, you piece of shit? Jake chuckles, circling me like a predator. Oh, she's safe, for now. But we've got some business to discuss first. As he moves, I notice the outline of a gun under his jacket. My heart races faster. What do you want? I ask, trying to keep my voice steady. Jake's eyes narrow. Simple. You're going to sign over your house and all your assets to me. Then you're going to disappear, leave town, never contact Jen again. I stare at him in disbelief. You're insane. Why would I do that? He pulls out his phone, showing me a video of Jen tied up and crying. Because if you don't, your precious wife and unborn child, well, let's just say they won't have a happy ending. As I watch the video, feeling sick to my stomach, I hear a noise from above. Jake doesn't seem to notice, his attention focused on me. I realize this might be my only chance. I need to keep him talking. Buy some time. How do I know you'll let her go if I agree? I ask, stalling. Jake laughs. You don't. But what choice do you have? As he gloats, I see movement in the shadows behind him. Is it the police or someone else? I tighten my grip on the pepper spray in my pocket, ready to act if I need to. As Jake continues to gloat, I notice a figure creeping up behind him. In the dim light, I can just make out Yen's silhouette. My heart leaps. She's managed to free herself. I keep my eyes on Jake, trying not to give away Yen's presence. So, if I sign everything over, you'll just let us walk away? Why should I believe you? Jake scoffs, taking a step closer to me. Because you idiot, you don't have a choice. It's either that or... Before he can finish, Jen strikes. She swings a heavy pipe, hitting Jake squarely in the back of the head. He crumples to the ground with a surprised grunt. "Jen!" I rush forward, pulling her into my arms. She's shaking, her face streaked with tears and dirt. "Mike, I'm so sorry," she sobs into my chest. "I never wanted any of this to happen." But our reunion is short-lived. Jake groans, starting to stir. I quickly grab his gun, which had fallen from his jacket when he went down. "It's over, Jake," I say, pointing the weapon at him. "The police are on their way." Jake laughs weakly, blood trickling from the wound on his head. "You think it's that simple? You have no idea how deep this goes. My associates?" Suddenly, the factory doors burst open. Detective Johnson storms in with a team of officers, all with weapons drawn. "Police! Everybody freeze!" As the officers swarm in, securing Jake and checking the rest of the building, I hold Jen close, relief washing over me. But I know this is far from over. There are still so many questions, so much to process. Detective Johnson approaches us, her face serious. "Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, we're going to need you both to come down to the station. We have a lot to discuss." As we're led out of the factory, I realize that while one chapter of this nightmare has ended, another is just beginning. The truth about Jake's operation, the extent of Yen's involvement, and the future of our marriage. It's all hanging in the balance. I look at Jen, her hand protectively over her belly, and I know that whatever comes next, it's going to change our lives forever. The next few hours are a blur of police statements, medical checkups, and endless questions. Jen and I are separated for individual questioning, and I find myself in another interrogation room with Detective Johnson. "Mr. Thompson," she begins, her tone serious, "your wife has given us some very disturbing information about Mr. Pearson's criminal activities. We're going to need your full cooperation as we investigate this matter further." I nod, still feeling dazed. "Of course. Whatever you need." As I recount everything I know from the anniversary party to the confrontation at the factory, I can't help but wonder what Jen is telling them in the other room. How much was she really involved? How much danger are we still in? After what feels like hours, Detective Johnson leans back in her chair. "Thank you for your cooperation, Mr. Thompson. Well, be in touch. For now, we're placing you and your wife under police protection. There's a safe house prepared for you both." As I am led out of the room, I see Jen in the hallway. She looks exhausted, her eyes red from crying. When she sees me, she reaches out tentatively. "Mike," she whispers, "can we talk? Please?" I hesitate for a moment. Part of me wants to comfort her, to hold her and tell her everything will be okay. But another part is still hurt, still angry, still confused. "Yeah," I finally say. "We need to talk." As we're escorted to a waiting police car, I realize that this conversation could determine the entire course of our future. The truth about the affair, the baby, the criminal operation, it's all going to come out now. I take a deep breath, steeling myself for whatever revelations are about to come. One thing's for sure, our lives will never be the same after this. We arrive at a nondescript suburban house, our temporary safe haven. As soon as the police officers leave us alone, the tension in the air becomes palpable. Jen sits on the edge of the couch, her hands fidgeting in her lap. I remain standing, unsure of where to begin. Finally, I break the silence. "All right, Jen. I think it's time you told me everything. No more lies, no more secrets." Jen nods, tears already forming in her eyes. "You're right. You deserve the whole truth." She takes a deep breath and begins her story. "It started about 6 months ago. I accidentally overheard Jake on the phone talking about drug shipments and money laundering. When he realized I knew, he threatened me. At first it was just about keeping quiet, but then..." She pauses, choking back a sob. "He said if I didn't do what he wanted, he'd hurt you. He showed me pictures of you going about your day, said he had people watching you. I was terrified, Mike." I feel a mix of emotions. Anger at Jake, sympathy for Jen, and frustration that she didn't trust me enough to tell me. The affair. It wasn't real. I hated every moment of it, but I thought I was protecting you, Jen continues. The pregnancy. I'm almost certain it's yours, Mike. We were trying, remember? But Jake, he made me doubt everything. I run my hands through my hair, processing this information. Why didn't you go to the police? Or tell me. Jen looks up at me, her eyes pleading. I wanted to so many times, but Jake said he had cops on his payroll. I didn't know who to trust, and I was afraid if I told you, you'd confront him and get hurt. As I listened to Jens' explanation, I realized the full weight of what she's been carrying these past months. The fear, the guilt, the constant pressure. But there's still one question burning in my mind. Jen, I say slowly, I need to know, despite everything, do you still love me? Yen's eyes well up with fresh tears as she looks at me intently. Mike, she says, her voice barely above a whisper, I never stopped loving you, not for a single moment. Everything I did, as misguided as it was because I love you so much. I couldn't bear the thought of you getting hurt because of me. She stands up and takes a tentative step towards me. I know I've hurt you terribly. I've betrayed your trust, and I don't expect you to forgive me easily. But if you can find it in your heart to give me another chance, I promise I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I feel a lump in my throat. The anger and hurt are still there, but so is the love I've always had for Jen. I take a deep breath, trying to sort through my jumbled emotions. Jen, I love you too. That's never changed. But love isn't always enough. We've got a long road ahead of us if we're going to make this work. There's a lot of trust to rebuild. I pause, looking at her stomach. And we've got more than just ourselves to think about now. Jen nods, placing a hand on her belly. I know. Whatever you decide, I want you to be a part of this child's life. They deserve to know what an amazing father they have. For the first time in what feels like forever, I feel a glimmer of hope. Let's take it one day at a time, I say, reaching out to take her hand. We'll get through this police investigation, make sure you and the baby are safe, and then, well, work on us. Jen squeezes my hand, a small smile breaking through her tears. Thank you, Mike, for not giving up on us. As we stand there, hand in hand, I realize that while our story took an unexpected and painful turn, it's not over yet. We've got a chance to write a new chapter, one of healing, forgiveness, and maybe, just maybe, a happier ending than I could have imagined 24 hours ago. Over the next few weeks, Jen and I work closely with the police to bring down Jake's entire operation. It turns out to be even bigger than we imagined, involving several high-ranking executives and even a couple of corrupt cops. Our testimony, along with the evidence Jen had secretly gathered, proves crucial in dismantling the criminal network. Throughout this process, Jen and I attend couples therapy, slowly rebuilding our relationship. It's not easy. There are days when the pain and mistrust threaten to overwhelm us. But we keep pushing forward, reminding ourselves of the love that brought us together in the first place. As Yen's pregnancy progresses, we grow closer. The first time we hear the baby's heartbeat together, I feel a surge of love and protectiveness that pushes aside any lingering doubts. This is our child, regardless of biology, and I'm committed to being the best father I can be. Jake and his associates are eventually brought to trial. Watching him being sentenced to a long prison term brings a sense of closure, though the fear he instilled in us takes longer to fade. A year after that fateful anniversary party, Jen and I are sitting in our backyard, watching our 3-month-old daughter, Emily, sleep in her bassinet. We've moved to a new house, in a different city, ready for a fresh start. Mike, Jen says, taking my hand, I know this past year has been incredibly difficult. I want you to know how grateful I am for your forgiveness and your strength. You're an amazing husband and a wonderful father. I squeeze her hand, feeling a warmth in my chest. We've both been through a lot, Jen, but look at where we are now. We're stronger for it. As I look at my wife and daughter, I reflect on the crazy journey that brought us here. The betrayal, the danger, the heartache, it all led to this moment of peace and love. I've learned that relationships aren't always straightforward. They can be messy, complicated, and sometimes painful. But with trust, communication, and a willingness to fight for each other, even the most broken bonds can be mended. To anyone out there facing similar challenges, my advice is this: don't give up too easily. If there's love, there's hope. It won't be easy, but with patience, understanding, and a lot of hard work, you might just find your way back to each other and come out stronger on the other side. Stronger on the other side. Stronger on the other side. Stronger on the other side.